Hey, welcome back. You're here with Coach Gilman, and it's a privilege to be with you again. And if you're here because you're interested in learning the next few steps necessary in getting on the college recruiting radar, you come to the right place. So I am located in Hawaii, and so if you hear, birds or my children walking around, just want to let you know that you're here in my office here in Hawaii. So good to have you be with me today. So I'm going to kind of outline some things for you to get started in knowing the other steps necessary for you to get on that college recruiting radar. But before doing so, let me back up for a moment and let you know that this particular college recruiting formula that I'm using, I'm terming that as E3C. And that just basically means educate, evaluate, exposure, and communicate. In the next few videos, I'll talk about exposure and communicate. But this video is all about this right here, evaluate. And that's what we're talking about, okay? All right, so carrying over from the last video, we're about the step 4. And this step 4 basically means that you will need to know the college recruiting guideline. Now, in your minds, you might be thinking, what is that? And so briefly, let me just kind of say to you that every division, as I outlined in the last video, and every conference within that division have a standard guideline of players that they measure their desire in selecting different recruits for scholarships. So it's within that conference, there are a number of teams, and sometimes it varies. Some of the teams' guideline may not be the same to another team that's participating in that conference. Some of that guideline is what I'm referring to depends on the college coach, who's the head coach relative to the coordinators, if you will, in their schemes. And so most colleges within conferences, they recruit players that reflect the strengths of their scheme and vice versa. They take the scheme and then they identify what kind of particular athletes do they need to compete in a high level for that particular system, scheme, and philosophy. So it's really critical for you as you get yourself going to knowing how to get on the college recruiting radar. You got to know this in the evaluation phase. And so the question is, I'm sure that you're asking, how do I know that? How do I find that out? You can glean some information very easily by looking at the websites and figuring out some variables of some of the student athletes there. And you can go on that roster, check it out, see where they're from. You can see sort of the height, weight, etc., the accolades, etc. And you can kind of define, what kind of player they're looking at in terms of either scholarshiping or not by who they have on that roster. So that is key. So you can find that through that. The second part of this is that you can definitely ask. You can ask these coaches, what is your guideline? For instance, if I am a setter in volleyball and I want to go to a certain conference, and within that conference there's like 3 teams within that conference I want to go, I would call these coaches and ask, what is your guideline as a setter? And for the most part, they may be able to share that with you. There might be a certain requirement that is needed for you to come in. So that's basically what that is. So why do you need to know that? Well, you need to know the recruiting guidelines so that you don't waste your time. Because if you are a certain attribute, physical attribute, and they are not looking at your attribute, i.e. height, then you need to figure out where of these these colleges within these conferences are wanting your height. So that's the reason why you're looking for that guideline. Let's move on to step 5. So in step 5, most colleges have after they know who they want, most colleges like to see if they fit the criteria, the guideline, by measuring physically the athlete. So basically what I'm saying is that they would like to eye test you on the physical side and to determine if you have the potential look before you perform. And then of course when you do perform, they can measure the performance with their look and their body type potential to grow and develop, etc. And that is what the eye test is. Now, most people in the industry just measure the eye test on the physical side. I mean, my definition of measuring eye test is, which is, the top 25 teams in the nation, whatever that division, 1, 2, 3, NAIA, most top 25 teams within those divisions, they take this a step further in step 5. What they do is they measure not only the physical part of it, they measure the academic. Do you meet the eye test academically? Do they measure the character? Do you meet the eye test of the character? I mean, there's a certain type of athlete that they're looking for that possess a particular attribute in their character. The other one is leadership. They're looking for a certain eye test student athlete in that variable. And so that's what I mean about eye tests. Many services out there and coaches out there in this space of recruiting just tell you about the physical side, that most colleges are eye testing you. I don't do that way. I in my coaching, personalized coaching rather, private and or group, I go into detail with that. What is the eye test per sport, per position, per conference? And some of the conference eye test is pretty similar and homogeneous, but for the most part, depending on the system and the scheme of the team within that conference, it could be different. And I would outline that to you on my personalized coaching. But in general, that is what step 5 means. And lastly, step 6. So step 6 is really the meat of this whole thing. I mean, you need to know, if you want to get on the college recruiting radar, how to get an evaluation. And critical here, if getting an evaluation is so critical. I mean, so it's not enough to just show your tape, your videotape, and then showcase your talent in the game and hope that college coaches are now looking and saying, I like you. It's about requesting an evaluation. And I bet some of you are thinking, I didn't know that I could. I didn't know that I could request. But I just want to let you know that step 6 is so critical. If you want to get on the college recruiting radar, you got to request an evaluation. Now, you can't request the evaluation if you don't meet certain criteria. So that means you got to know these guidelines. You got to know that if you meet the eye test. And the reason why I'm saying that is most college coaches, if you're requesting an evaluation, if you don't have the attributes that they're looking for, that they can check these boxes, if there's boxes around them. If you don't check those boxes, when you request, if you get a chance to speak with them, they're just going to look at you like, oh, I'm sorry, or don't say anything and don't talk with you anymore, because they're seeing literally hundreds of people, and they're evaluating a lot of athletes. And so you gotta know if you check those boxes. Okay, you have to know that if you check these boxes from the recruiting guideline, I think you're set. Okay, per each division that you are focusing on. So in this module or this video called Evaluate, we covered step 4, 5, and 6. know the college recruiting guideline and understand if you meet the eye test. And then number 6, request and go get an evaluation. Now, in my personalized coaching, group coaching, I help you through this because this is the most critical. And so if you want any information about that, please feel free to connect with me through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. On my website, I have my email and my number. Would love to help you in any way. Please subscribe. Share this link, please, this particular video, so that we can help more families that need this information about helping their children or others get on the college recruiting radar. And that's my role for you. And I hope to see you again on the next video coming soon. So take care. From Hawaii, bye for now.